After half an hour of rest, Joe Mingrui, who now regarded himself as Klein, finally recovered. During this time, he noticed 4 black dots on the back of his hand, forming a small square. These dots quickly faded away, but Klein knew they still lingered within him, waiting to be awakened. 4 spots forming a square. Is this related to the 4 pieces of staple food at the corners of the room? Does this mean that I won't need to prepare food for the ritual in the future and can start chanting immediately? Klein speculated. It sounded convenient, yet the appearance of these marks was ominous. Unknown things always carried a sense of dread. The fact that his Chinese divination methods from Earth had worked here, his strange transmigration during sleep, the maddening murmurs during the ritual, and that mysterious gray world of unknown meaning, all of it made Klein shudder despite the hot June weather. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest fear is the fear of the unknown. That quote echoed in his mind as he felt the truth of it more deeply than ever. Inside him, 2 forces clashed. One, an overwhelming curiosity to delve into the mysteries. The other, a desperate instinct to escape and pretend nothing had happened. Sunlight streamed through the window, sprinkling golden grains across the desk. Klein stared at it, feeling a faint warmth and hope return to him. Fatigue crept over him like a tide. His eyelids drooped heavily. It must have been the sleepless night and the exhausting ritual. He leaned on the desk for support and stumbled to his bed, ignoring the rye bread placed at the 4 corners of the room. He fell asleep the instant his head touched the pillow. Groan, groan. The hunger pangs woke Klein. Opening his eyes, he felt rejuvenated but with a lingering headache. "There's still a slight headache," he murmured, rubbing his temples before straightening his shirt and reaching for his silver vine-leaf pocket watch. "Pa," the lid sprang open, 12:30. "I slept for 3 hours," he muttered, tucking it back into his pocket. In this northern continent, time worked the same, 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute. But whether each second flowed at the same rhythm as Earth's, Klein could not be sure. Right now, he had only one thought: food. Mysticism, rituals, gray fog, all of that could wait. He needed to eat before he could think. He picked up the loaves of rye bread from the room's corners, brushed off the dust, and decided one would be lunch. He justified it easily. With only 5 pence left, and since eating ritual offerings was a tradition back home, why waste perfectly fine bread? Besides, the ritual hadn't visibly altered them. Frugality was key and perhaps habit too, as the original Klein had been thrifty. He set up the small furnace, added coal, and began boiling water. Without water, rye bread was practically inedible. As the water heated, Klein paced around, glancing now and then at the cupboard where a pound of mutton sat. Life with meat only for dinner is going to be dreadful. No, wait, that's already an exception, he muttered, half amused, half resigned. Melissa would only let us have meat twice a week if it weren't for my upcoming interview. His hungry eyes lingered on the mutton for a moment before he shook his head. No, I'll wait for Melissa to eat together. He turned his back on the cupboard, but then remembered. He'd bought peas and potatoes that morning. Potatoes? Klein's eyes lit up. He rushed to fetch 2 from the pile, cleaned them in the public bathroom, and dropped them into the pot to boil. Soon, he added coarse yellow salt from the spice tin and waited. Minutes later, he poured the soup into a few cups and fished out the potatoes. F. He blew on them, peeling the skin bit by bit as the scent of boiled potatoes filled the air. His mouth watered uncontrollably. Unable to resist, he bit into one mid-peel. So fragrant, powdery, warm, sweet, it was bliss. Emotion welled up as he devoured both potatoes, skin and all, and drank the salted soup with satisfaction. I really enjoyed eating potatoes like this when I was young, he thought fondly, dipping bread into the remaining broth. The fatigue melted away. Full and content, he basked in the sunlight. Then, with renewed clarity, he sat down to plan. I can't escape. I have to face this. I need to come into contact with mysticism and become a beyonder, like Justice and the Hanged Man. He took a deep breath. I must overcome the fear of the unknown. The only option was to wait for the next gathering. He'd try to learn the formula for the spectator potion or anything connected to mysticism. But that was 4 days away. Before then, he needed to uncover why Klein had killed himself. Unable to return to his world, he had to solve this one's mystery. Klein reached for the notebook on the desk, the original Klein's journal. The man clearly had a habit of taking notes and writing diaries. Inside the cabinet were many filled notebooks. The first entry began on May 10, filled with mundane records of lectures and knowledge. But by May 29, something caught Klein's attention. Welch found me and told me he'd acquired a notebook from the fourth epic. Oh my goddess. A notebook from the fourth epic. He doesn't want help from the archaeology department, so he came to Nea and me. How can I refuse? Of course, I can only help after my graduation defense. That line lit a spark in Klein's mind. A fourth epic notebook. That could be the trigger for everything. The fourth epic, before the current Iron Age, was a time shrouded in mystery. So little was known that historians depended on fragments from the 7 churches. Mentions of the Solomon Empire, the Tudor dynasty, and the Trunsost Empire came mostly from religion, myth, and legend. Driven by his fascination with lost history, Klein flipped through more entries. 20th June. We deciphered the first page. The author was from a family named Antigonus. 21st June. He mentioned the Black Emperor. Isn't that anachronistic? Could all Solomon rulers have used that title? 22nd June. The Antigonus family held high status. The author described a secret deal with someone named Tudor. Tudor? Is that linked to the Tudor dynasty? 25th June. He was tasked to travel to the nation of the Evernight atop the Hornisus mountain range. How can people live above 6,000 meters? And then silence. The next day, June 27th, held only one haunting line. Everyone will die, including me. Klein shivered. The mystery thickened. If the original Klein's death was tied to that notebook, then Welch likely knew something. But visiting him could be dangerous, just like in those horror stories where the investigator never came back. Still, he couldn't avoid it. Running would solve nothing. Maybe I could call the police, he murmured, then winced. How do you even report your own suicide? Knock. Knocks, knock. A series of quick, forceful knocks echoed from the hallway. Klein froze. Knock. Knocks, knock. The sound reverberated through the empty apartment corridor, sharp, insistent, and foreboding.